Assalamualaikum and a very good day I wish to all the viewers. Today my group will present about historical conflict between Israel and Palestine.
Okay, the introduction for the conflict between the Palestine and Israel is one of the most highly publicized and bitter struggles of modern times. The religious difference were not cause of this strife, but the conflict began as a struggle over land. For the last 100 years, the Palestinians have brought colonization, impulsion and military occupation, followed by a long and difficult search for self-determination and for coexistence with the nation they hold responsible for their suffering and loss. But for the Jewish people of Israel, the return to the land of their forefathers after centuries of persecution around the world has not brought peace or security. They have to face many crises as their neighbors have sought to wipe their country off the map. First of all, let me explain about the Israel nation first. The state of Israel was self-declared independent state in 1946 and recognized in 1947. This state situated in the southeast of Asia, close to Mediterranean Sea. It shares borders with Lebanon to north, Syria to northwest, Jordan on east, state of Palestine comprising Gaza, and West Bank to east and southwest. Israel defines itself as Jewish and democratic state. Israel has highest standard of living in Middle East and the fifth highest in Asia and has one of the highest life expectancy in the world. For the Palestine, State of Palestine was declared an independent state in 1988 by Palestine Liberation Organization. It consists of West Bank and Gaza territories. Ramallah is Palestine administrative center, home to holiest site of both Muslims and Christians. Most of its territories are under Israel occupation. The West Bank is controlled by moderate Fatah party. Gaza is controlled by extremist Hamas group. The Gaza is one of the most densely populated in the world.
Okay, now I will be talking about the timeline on the history between Palestine and Israel. Alright, in pre-1947, a large number of European Jews immigrated to Palestine following World War I with support of League of Nations and the British government. Now, they engaged in conflict with local natives, which are the Palestinians, for the rule of the land. The conflict turned violent, and in the end, Israel defeats Palestinians with the help of backing from British colonies. And in 1947, British withdraws from Palestine. United Nations approves the partition of British mandated Palestine into Arab state and a Jewish state. The approvement accepted by Israel but not by the Palestinians, as it was considered highly illegitimate, with Israel given larger swaths of land. Neighboring Arab states launches a ground invasion to crush the Israeli state, which it was able to defend with the help from the West. In 1967, Israel launches airstrikes on Egypt, Jordan and Syria in response to build-up of Arab armies along its border. They succeeded in capturing Golan Heights, Gaza Strip and West Bank, backed by the West. Land for Peace formula adapted by UN to restore peace. In 1977 to 1982, Egyptian president makes historic visit to Jerusalem. These two countries signed a formal peace treaty establishing a diplomatic and commercial relations. Israel, in return, returns control of Sinai to Egypt. In 1987, Palestinians, they started to get violence. They started to start riot, do general strikes, and even being disobedient. Now, what did the IDF? They responded by live ammunition, claiming lives of over 20,000 people on both sides. Now, what Palestinians wanted is they wanted Israel for a complete withdrawal from territories it occupied in 1967, lifting up curfews and checkpoints and establishment of Palestine state on West Bank and Gaza Strip. Jordan, however, abandoned its claim of West Bank to PLO. An independent state of Palestine was then proclaimed. In 1993, these two countries, Arab and Israel, for the first time they had a face-to-face agreement between parties, which led to the loosening of boycott of Israel by Arab states. And finally, from 2000 to 2005, there was a cost due to the failure of Oslo process in creating right conditions for an independent Palestinian state. Now, this brought to the emergence of the second Intifada. Now, this second Intifada differed from first in the use of violence by both sides, which are caused by visit Temple Mount by Israel Prime Minister, seen by the Palestinians as highly provocative.
So now I will explain about Gaza conflict. In 2007, Gaza comes under control under a militant group which named themselves as the Hamas. Hamas, as its name Islamic Resistance Movement implies, aims to liberate Palestine from the Israeli occupation by resisting it. Since then, this organization have fired what is known as Qassam rockets to parts of Israel, causing them to consider Gaza as a hostile territory. This declaration drives Israel to impose a complete blockade on Gaza, not allowing any transfer of food, water and electricity. The stated purpose of this blockade was to pressure Hamas into ending the rocket attacks and to deprive them of the supplies necessary for the continuation of rocket attacks. However, instead it had led to human catastrophe due to an increased cross-border firing. The first point is Operation Pillar Defense. In 2012, the Hamas further intensifies their rocket attacks on Israel, causing them to react to these escalating events. Hence, the Israel plan to execute Ahmed Jabari, Hamas military chief in Gaza. The aim of Operation Pillar of Defense is to remove a strategic threat to Israeli citizens. To accomplish this, the IDF will act to protect the lives of Israeli citizens, including by reducing the capabilities of Hamas long and short-range rocket forces. Additionally, Israel is acting to impair Hamas command and control system. The next point is Operation Protective Edge. In 2014, the IDF launched this operation also in response to Hamas attacks. The IDF's return fire, however, killed more than 2,100 Palestinians, which are most non-combatants, and caused massive destruction to the buildings and residential area. In a shameful act, Israel troops also entered Gaza Strip, shooting and killing innocent lives to even children and teenagers.
Conflict understanding. For Palestine, ahead to the construction of Israeli settlements on land beyond the 1967 borders. Negotiated borders based on the 1967 boundaries, Jerusalem as the capital of the state of Palestine, the release of all Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails, including those convicted of acts of terror, the recognition of a right of return for all Palestinians living in the diaspora, a series of smaller specific issues such as permission to build an airport in the Ramallah district and the right to issue visas as part of a tourism initiative. And for Israel, sovereignty over Jerusalem, including the Old City, negotiated borders based on the 1967 boundaries, with land swaps taking into account the major West Bank settlement blocks. Recognition of Israel as a Jewish state, a demilitarized state of Palestine, right of return for Palestinian refugees only to Palestine, not to Israel, and assortment of other smaller issues such as no unilateral move vis-a-vis international organizations. This is location of West Bank and Gaza.
Resolution of the conflict. The first one is apology and forgiveness. Both sides must forgive and accept apology. They should begin their own process of truth and reconciliation. The second one is recognition and acceptance. Palestinians and Arabs have to accept Israel as a Jewish state. Israel should stop intervening in Palestine's affairs. No party should infiltrate each other's territory, thus maintaining sovereignty. Next one is sharing process. There can be no peace without economic prosperity. Mutual prosperity will provide a basis for overcoming mistrust, paranoia, and defensiveness. Next, rights of people, not states. They need to recognize the rights of each other's people. Israel should acknowledge its role in creating the plight of Palestinian refugees and given freedom to live where they want. Palestinians should be compensated for the property that they lost in conflict. Furthermore, mutual religious tolerance. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam need to acknowledge one another. Israel needs to recognize the legitimacy of Islam and Christianity. Palestinians need to acknowledge that Judaism has a deep historical connection to Old City of Jerusalem. Then, the last one is education and communication. Both should change the curricular, textbooks, and other learning sources to accept this concept of new truth. Both sides need to move forward. Rehumanization and empowerment. By the confronting differences, they discover the similarities each others. That's all from our presentation. Thank you.